Imagine walking through life and feeling deeply connected to those around you. So your family, your friends, your kids, your colleagues, and even strangers. You feel this deep sense of connection and humanity. That is the power of empathy. So my name's Leanne Butterworth and I run social enterprise Empathy First. I'm an empathy educator and I teach people that empathy is a learned skill, or more specifically, healthy empathy. Now, a lot of times I will tell people what I do, and I met with this almost, this disgust, this fear of, oh, yuck, empathy, gross. Because a lot of people have a lot of misperceptions about what empathy is. So we think it's just feeling the feelings. We think it's something that you're either born with or you're not. We think that it's untrainable. We think it's a weakness. We think that it doesn't belong at work and it's just for the girls. Now, none of that is true. The truth is, healthy empathy or healthy sustainable empathy is a skill that can be learned and practiced, and it is the ability to, or at least the really good attempt to, share and understand the feelings and perspectives of someone else and respond in a way that makes them feel heard, valued, visible, and safe. Now, a lot of times there are a number of different definitions that we kind of lump into the word empathy. It's only been in our language for about the last 120 odd years. So we think of it as sympathy, or we confuse it with pity, or we confuse it with compassion. But healthy empathy is the ability to, or at least the really good attempt to, share and understand the feelings and perspectives of someone else and respond in a way that makes them feel heard, valued, visible, and safe. Now, if we're going to break it down, the way that I look at empathy and the way that I teach empathy is that it has three types. So that's based on the work of Goleman and Ekman, two emotional intelligence gurus out of the USA. And the three types are emotional, so feeling the feelings, cognitive, taking perspectives, and compassionate, the ability to respond appropriately. Now, within each of those, there's healthy and unhealthy. So emotional empathy, the feeling the feelings. Unhealthy emotional empathy is when we jump down emotional rabbit holes, when we feel for other people, when we have poor emotional boundaries, when we don't have good emotional literacy. And we think that empathy is just feeling the feelings, and the more we feel, the better we are and the better friend we are. But in doing so, we burn ourselves out. And it's not sustainable because we keep giving and giving and giving. And the trouble is, if we think about it, we don't want that from other people. Think about a paramedic. You don't want your paramedic crying next to you. We want people to hold space for us, but not to be traumatized by the things that we are going through. It makes us sort of clam up. Healthy emotional empathy, on the other hand, is that ability to be with somebody and share their feelings and have good boundaries and make them feel as though we understand, because we get curious and we want to know how they feel. We don't have to take on their stuff. We don't have to take responsibility for their stuff, but we have to acknowledge and validate it and make the person feel as though their feelings matter. So that's healthy emotional empathy. And that takes skill, because we have to learn skills like boundaries and emotional literacy, being able to name different emotions, being able to give language to emotions so that we have an emotional toolkit greater than mad, bad, sad, and glad. So things like the emotions wheel can help there. That helps us give language to our emotions. Up the other end, we've got cognitive empathy. Now, cognitive empathy, that ability to take the perspective of somebody else, is a really important skill to understand that people think differently to us. Now, you might have heard the phrase, put yourself in someone else's shoes. So we're trying to see what life is like for them, what their perspective is, what their experience is, what their truth is. The trouble happens when we don't take our own shoes off first. Now, what that means is we're then interpreting their experience through our lens, through our unconscious biases through our experience, our privilege, and we would respond to them potentially saying, well, if I was you, I would just, or this is how I would feel in the situation, or the way that you feel isn't valid, or your perspective isn't valid because it's different to mine. That's unhealthy cognitive, because potentially we create distance. We might come out with things that are minimizing or dismissing, or even worse, we might say, unsolicited advice, such as, well, you shouldn't feel that way, or you shouldn't think that way, or why don't you just, and then give advice such as, why don't you just get a job? Why don't you just lose weight? All these things that we assume are easy because we haven't actually stepped into their experience, not just our interpretation of their experience. So healthy cognitive empathy is taking your shoes off. If you're in emergency services, or if you're in any sort of vulnerable workplace, you can keep your socks on. I don't want you wading around barefoot in other people's experiences. But healthy cognitive empathy is acknowledging how our brain works. It's acknowledging your privilege, acknowledging your experience, acknowledging your unconscious biases, your assumptions, and looking at how you interpret the perspectives of other people and how you then respond. So learning about unconscious biases, learning about putting yourself in someone else's shoes, learning about other people's experiences is really helpful in practicing healthy cognitive empathy. The third type is compassionate empathy. That's the combining healthy emotional, healthy cognitive, and replying in a way that makes people feel heard, valued, visible, and safe. So things like, it makes perfect sense you feel that way. Tell me more about that. What's going on for you? Really getting curious, letting people know that they matter. Using the word let's. Let's have a coffee. Let's have a chat. Feels very, very different to you should. So when we think about why this matters, well, healthy emotional empathy matters because it lets us connect deeply with people. People connect on emotion. There's a beautiful saying by Maya Angelou: people won't remember what you said or did, they'll remember how you made them feel. Being able to connect emotionally is what makes us human. If you think about healthy cognitive empathy, the ability to expand your mind, take different perspectives, learn what it's like to be someone else, get outside of your own perspective, get outside of your own reality, again, helps us acknowledge the humanity in other people. And then responding in a way that makes them feel heard, valued, visible, and safe is super important. I remember when I struggled with my mental health after having children, I had late diagnosed postnatal depression, and one of the catalysts for it being late diagnosed was people around me minimizing and dismissing. When I said that I was struggling, people around me would say, the days are long, the years are short, we all got through it, you chose to have children, just have a drink. And you can hear in those responses, none of them are attempting to make me feel heard, valued, visible, and safe. So if we think about how to do this, I have a lovely phrase called the HEART method. And when we're trying to put empathy into practice, we have HEART, which is Heart. So heart. H is hear. Truly hear the person. Put away your distraction, put down the phone, take a deep breath, and be truly, truly present with the person you are listening to. Give them your full attention. E is to engage. Ask curious questions. Ask for more information. Focus on getting to the bottom of, not interrogating, but getting curious about the person. Tell me more about that. What was that like for you? How did that feel? Really get curious about their experience, not your interpretation of their experience. So H, hear. E, engage. A, acknowledge. and validate. Now, what that means is listen for the emotions behind the story. It makes perfect sense you feel that way. Or, wow, are you feeling anxious? What does that feel like? It makes perfect sense that that is your response. Thank you for sharing that with me. So acknowledging and validating the emotions behind the story. R is responding. Now, remembering that we've got to respond in a way that makes people feel heard, valued, visible, and safe. So what we want to do is let's invite people in. Yeah? See what they need. Offer. Yeah? Be proactive. And then building trust is through authenticity and consistency. Really showing up for people again and again and again. Yeah? In a way that is sustainable for you, in a way that doesn't burn you out. Do it within your own practice. Practice self-empathy. Understand your own boundaries. Understand your unconscious biases. Understand your stuff so that you can better show up for other people and they can better show up for you, because strong relationships are absolutely critical. Now, whether that's in leadership, in your relationships, whether that's with your kids, with your friends, in just alleviating loneliness and getting out there and participating in the world, that ability to share and understand, or at least the really good attempt to, the feelings and perspectives of someone else and respond in a way that makes them feel heard, valued, visible, and safe is a key skill for life. And research shows that even thinking that empathy is a learned skill can make us more empathetic. There's a research paper called No Country for Girly Men from 2016, and they showed that even having a positive understanding that empathy is a learned skill can make people, especially men, lean into empathy. So my name's Leanne Butterworth. I would love for you to learn more about empathy, lean into it, lean into healthy empathy, explore what empathy means for you and your relationships and what some of your reluctances or challenges are around empathy. And when we do that, we really have the chance to create a world where we are more connected, less stressed, more happy, more healthy, and businesses and families and communities thrive. Thank you so much. My name's Leanne Butterworth, and that was Empathy is a Learned Skill.